Former New York Times Istanbul bureau chief Stephen Kinzer has said that there is growing concern about Turkey's direction in the West, with allegations of corruption forming a part of that perception. Kinzer, whose honorary Turkish citizenship was cancelled on the orders of President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan on Tuesday, told today's Zaman that it is very important for people to have confidence in their government in a democracy. Kinzer was speaking a day after a ceremony to bestow him with a prestigious award for his contribution to Gaziantep was cancelled and his honorary citizenship was rescinded. In a fax sent to the Gaziantep mayor's office from the presidential palace, Kinzer was described as an enemy of our government and the country. Kinzer's reports for the New York Times 15 years ago helped save Roman-era mosaics in Gaziantep, which have since attracted millions of tourists to the city. The city wanted to honor the journalist, who is also the author of 8 books and writes a columnist for the Boston Globe, in recognition of his reporting, but a piece he wrote about Erdoğan 5 months ago made it impossible. Upon my arrival in Gaziantep, my acutely embarrassed host sat me down and told me the ceremony, and my honorary citizenship, had been cancelled by personal order of President Recep Tayyip Erdoğan, Kinzer wrote in the Boston Globe on Tuesday. The explanation for the move was a January 4 column he wrote for the Boston Globe that included a critical paragraph about Erdoğan. By wrecking Turkey's carefully constructed relations with Egypt, Israel, and Syria, Erdoğan has weakened his country and helped destabilize the Middle East, Kinzer wrote in the Boston Globe article, adding that once seen as a skilled modernizer, he now sits in a 1,000-room palace denouncing the European Union, decreeing the arrest of journalists, and ranting against short skirts and birth control. Kinzer told today's Zaman that he knew some weeks ago that the city council and the mayor had made the decision to present him with the award and that permission had been given by the foreign ministry in Ankara. He added that he does not take the decision personally and that it is a matter for people in Ankara and Gaziantep to decide. He noted that he still feels like a citizen of Gaziantep. Nothing that any political leader or civil servant decides can change my connection to the city, Kinzer added. Assessing the corruption scandal that tarnished the government's reputation and prompted it to escalate its crackdown on media and critics, Kinzer said that transparency, judicial independence, and the ability to speak freely about the government is vitally important in a democracy. He also said that this is kind of political system that most Turks want and that there is corruption in all governments. What is different is the way the government in Turkey responds, Kinzer said, adding that he thinks that people are most outraged when they feel that corruption is not punished. On press freedom concerns, Kinzer said his Turkish journalist friends are concerned about what is happening in this country and that their concern makes me concerned also. According to Kinzer, it is part of the journalism to upset powerful people. If you are afraid to do that, you should not be in journalism business, Kinzer said when asked about Erdoğan's bashing of the New York Times for its scathing editorial about Turkey. Describing Erdoğan as a strong leader with strong ideas, which can be used in positive or negative ways, Kinzer said it is also important to be open to other people. Kinzer said journalists naturally have a special concern when the target is other journalists. He said it is stressful for him to watch what seems to be a closing of space for critical journalism in Turkey. He said all governments are sensitive to criticism, but some government leaders recognize that criticism is well-intentioned and it enriches governments and improves dialogue. So cracking down on journalists is a way of killing of the messenger. Do not be concerned about the messenger. Think about the message. We are just reporting what people are thinking and saying. It is not fault of the transmitter. Free press is the cornerstone of democracy. Countries that want to think about themselves as democratic have to respect free press, Kinzer stressed. The paragraph that cost Kinzer's honorary citizenship in Turkey criticized Erdoğan's foreign policy and how he destroyed the country's hard-won credibility. Kinzer spoke about the puzzlement and confusion of the outside world about what happened in the leadership of Turkish government over recent years. Some 10 years ago, Kinzer said, Turkey seemed to be on a very positive track. He added that it is hard to analyze the psychology of public leaders, but the confidence and hope that many in the world had about Turkey's direction has weakened in recent years. He said there was a turn at some point in the direction of Turkey's domestic and international politics, and that has caused some unhappiness in the outside world. The former New York Times journalist, who worked in Turkey between 1996 and 2000, heralded a young generation that is educated and globalized in Turkey. He said this generation does not want isolation and that it has not been shaped by same cliches that shaped last generations. This generation wants an open and free and fully democratic country. It is only a matter of time until the aspirations of this generation are translated into political authority, Kinzer predicted. No doubt that in the end Turkey will embody the aspirations of this young globalized population. An aide to U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry sent a personal email to Kinzer, which he said doesn't reflect any official U.S. position. U.S. Ambassador to Turkey John Bass also reportedly called Kinzer to express his regret and asked him if needs anything.